let me tell you how I got to know Mike Fry. Mike was an aide to John Harity, Jack Harity, right? And he was a sports fanatic. And so when John Litzenberger and I took our young kids to the Capitol Center to see basketball games 30 years ago, he would come with us. And so we'd be there, two fraternity brothers from 1968, 69 from Syracuse, who were born the same day, the same year, the same month by different parents. And he would be with us. And we would take him to football games. He didn't care who was playing. He'd like to go to games. And I respected him for that. And that's how we got to know him. And then he became our supervisor. And so we were no longer on, hey, let's go to the game together, but a little bit more deferential treatment to him. And instead of our junior partner going to the games, he was now our elected official. But in any case, we respected him, and he ran as a Republican, but he was, in many cases, the most middle-of-the-road man that we knew. He appointed people, Larry Faulkner, a Democrat, a known Democrat, to the first planning commission for Sully. Was it Faulkner or Faulkner? You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. He was in I thought he was. Okay. But in any case, he appointed Democrats, he appointed Republicans to various commissions that he had vacancies on. And that's the mark of a man who knows he's serving his constituents and not a party. Yeah. All right. With that, I'm going to go to the agenda again, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share the Firefox. And 1 second, please. Share. And okay, so now I close this. All right, so now we're back to the agenda. You can see it here. And all right, so we had our meeting last month. We had two items, the Cock Park Central, which we voted to not to object. With the provision of the staff report indicates that objections to the project, they should return to us. On the Eclipse PCA, we had the same statement. All right. We're planning to have our Sully District Council meeting on Wednesday, the 25th, and we're proposed the tentative County Fire and Rescue Services, again, tentative. I'm waiting for the confirmation. Tonight, we have 3 items on the agenda. We have the application for Northern Virginia NOVEC regarding their existing Cub Run electrical station, which will be the first item. The second item is the freestanding emergency department. Third item is the county sale off of Stonecroft Boulevard. We'll talk about each in turn. The times that we have estimated are estimates. All right, so the first thing I have was I hit something, so let's see if it's the right one. Beep, 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 beep. No, that's not the right thing. All right, that's going back to here. We're going to go to your, now, if I open up the PPTX or the PDF, is there anything in the PTX that flies or does zooming? All right, so the PDF works just as well, right?
It should.
Okay, so, all right, going back to the agenda, we note that the item is NOVEC. It's on the southwest corner of Westfield, south of Braddock Road. We have Jessica Vera. We have Jake Holmes. Raise your hand. Okay. And we have
Glenn Fonz.
All right. We had Janice. You didn't look like Janice. So I was curious about that. All right. And they're here to answer questions. Now we've opened up their PDF, and so this is the PDF that we're opening, Cub Run Substation. Now I'm going to go to the presentation mode. For those who are at home, can you see the Cub Run Substation presentation?
Yes.
Say yay.
Yes, just fine.
I can hear somebody say yay. That's good sign.
Yes, yes.
And you can hear us. Excellent. Thank you so much. There. Go right ahead. Yeah. All right then. So please join us. Now, so there's a piece of paper being circulated. Has everybody signed it? Courtesy of our friend there. And we'll continue doing this. All right. With that in mind, take it away. stand up. You're doing good standing there. I think the people can hear you. Can you hear what she says? Say yay or nay. Anyone?
No, no.
You can't hear her. Get closer. All right, that's the microphone. Say, can you hear me now?
No, no.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear
I
you,
can hear
Jeff.
you, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Your voice is very
Very
slight.
slight.
What about now?
Oh, hold on. Maybe I've got the wrong microphone going. Hold on. All right, let me go back to here. I'm going to stop this for a second because it might be using my microphone on the table and not that microphone. So let me check. No, it's using that microphone. So I don't know why it should not.
I can try and project.
Okay, all right. No,
That's good.
All right, now you're projecting.
If you need me to speak up, please let me know and I will do my best to be louder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Jessica Vera, attorney from Andrews Kurth, and I am here tonight on behalf of NOVEC. NOVEC is currently undergoing review with Fairfax County for a special exception amendment, a proper condition amendment, and a 2232 public facilities review for the expansion of their existing substation. As Jeff mentioned, the substation is located at the intersection of Braddock Road, about 300 feet east of Oldley Road in the southwest corner of Westfields. If you want to switch the slide. And just a general overview, the property is split zone to the residential conservation district and the light intensity industrial I3 district. The proposal right now is basically to expand the existing substation to better serve NOVEC customers in the Cub Run area. The existing substation is currently connected to a single tap to the Dominion transition corridor to the west. So it's connected to a single transmission line. So when something happens to the single transmission line, NOVEC customers have been experiencing short power outages, blinks, which are associated with the operation of that single transmission. This proposal will expand the existing substation, so the substation is now connected to multiple transmission lines, so that if there's an outage in one transmission line, there will be backup transmission lines, and there will not be affected power outages to NOVEC's customers. How's the voice? Can you hear me okay?
It's great.
It's great.
Yes.
So a big component of this application is the new substation. There's some equipment upgrades, equipment additions. They're updating one power transformer and adding a fourth power transformer. This is do you mind going back one slide? Just wanted to get the two slides. That one. Yeah. Just wanted to give an overview of an aerial shot of where this substation is and kind of the expanded area, essentially the boundaries of the different application areas. So as you can see, NOVEC is really focusing on additional plantings to screen the equipment as best possible. If you don't mind going to the next one. So this is a shot from the existing parking lot. These trees right here that you see are the proposed plantings and the 5-year growth. Behind those trees is the proposed substation. So these trees initially will screen the substation this much. And then if you go to the next slide, this is the mature growth of the trees, which you see essentially screen the substation from view. And then we just have different views if you go to the next slides from different points. The substation in this picture is towards the back more, and you can see this is the initial planting. And then the next slide shows that mature growth again, which really screens the substation. And the next view, this is going to be from Braddock Road. If you see that little map in the corner, this is view 3. Just kind of give an overview of where this is. In the front there, you see the existing transmission line. The back facility there is the proposed substation and the plantings. And then if you go to the next slide, you can see they're growing a little more back there. It's kind of hard in this view.
Hold on now. Okay, so right where that last, fourth,
Yes,
arrow.
that's gonna be facing the Unicom Technology Park right there.
okay, so you can, if I do this fast, you can get a sense, but yeah, all right, that was fine.
And then just, if you go to the next slide, this is just some cross sections of the planting taken from the plan. And then I'm just gonna go over the overall need for this expansion and how this will benefit the community. So as I said, NOVEC customers are currently experiencing some minor delays from the connection to the single transmission line. Additionally, prior to 2019, this area was seeing steady growth, but nothing akin to some hyper growth that we've seen in other parts of the county. However, in 2019, the county passed an amendment to the comprehensive plan that encouraged more economic development in this area. Since 2019, we've seen that economic development come to fruition. So both residential and non-residential development has been taking off in this area, the surrounding area. So this expansion to the existing substation is needed to serve those customers, to serve that new development. NOVEC considered different options for the substation. They looked at land adjacent to this current site. They looked at land a little further away. They also went to Dominion and basically seeing that Dominion had additional capacity to serve this additional need. They did not. So what they're doing here is they're taking the option that minimizes impacts. They're using their existing infrastructure, existing property, expanding somewhat, and they're, taking advantage of what is there today to better serve customers and meet the increased demand. And that is the overview of the project. If any of you all have additional questions, Jake or Glenn.
Yes, let's turn it to the audience here, and do you have any comments and suggestions? Any thoughts? Stephen?
So, the footprint of the substation?
So it is. So the existing footprint is about 4 acres. So with the expansion, it's going to be about 6.5. Is that right, Jake? And then there's the Dominion facility immediately adjacent to it, which is new transmission lines, which is another 0.5 acre. I want to say that's where you are connecting to. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's not the, it is the, Dominion isn't the.
Right now, Dominion does not have a facility right there. So with this expansion and the additional taps, the Dominion facility is kind of that square up top. So Dominion's going to build a new facility to be able to give them additional taps and feed NOVEC in order for us to distribute the power to our customers.
And I guess the other question is, so what will the height of the existing, well, for ranking, I guess you say that the trees will cover any additions.
Yeah, anything that's out there, because there's the Dominion transmission line to the west, those are going to be your tall structures that's out there now. So when they tie into the Dominion station, they will decrease in size from those towers down to the, basically the tallest structure that NOVEC has right now on concrete. So we're not going to go above anything that's existing.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, this Lewis Grip with a question for the group. Both a comment and a question. Comment is I think appears to be a good solution to provide more reliable electrical service. Two questions I have. It was noted that the increased demand has significant in the past few years, What is the projection for the next 5 to 10 years? Question one. Question two. Where will the electrical power be coming from to be processed through this substation?
Question one, I do not know the projected 5-year or 10-year. That our planning department would have a better guess than I would. I'm not privy to those numbers. And question two is there's a Dominion transmission right away that's existing to the west, directly west of this station. So that square piece to the north that you see in gray will connect directly to the west lines. So the connection of this additional power is already there, and and Dominion's gonna tap straight into it.
Could you point to that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my mouse here to try to do the same.
Right, that area.
That way the people in the audience can.
Yeah, I'm pointing up here and I know that no one can see it, but yeah.
So I hope this is what I was thinking it is. All right, good enough then.
Sorry, we didn't.
Yeah, construction time. The construction about 8 to 12 months, just depending on how quick we can mobilize and weather.
So 2027.
Correct.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah.
Evelyn, go ahead, continue, Jim. Wait, Jim's got some more.
How much of this demand is based on data center?
So I know the county approved a data center in 2024, and that will be supported by this. As far as I know, that is it's an.
That's the driver?
I mean, the driver is the growth in this general area, but there is one approved data center that will be supported by this.
But there are 3 data centers.
That would have to be significant growth. How I know we got in the house, right?
Yeah, I think and I'm not saying to you, but for the folks over at NOVEC and Dominion to try and tell us it's not as a result of data centers as being a bit disingenuous.
Well,
You know, we are not growing that many homes in this region.
We could put 1,500 units in Westfield, Woodstock.
Yeah, at least 1,500 units.
Always really give this number. And I think if you're talking about the Parkview data center, like that way.
All right. That's fine.
Go ahead, Evelyn, I'll ask.
As which data center is this gonna serve? Parkstone, because that has not been operational yet because they don't have a substation to, but this serve,
Hey, do you know which? I know there was the one we approved. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't know exactly what data centers that the station will supply or be routed towards. I just know our planning department kind of zoned in on this area of the need for power, whether it's data center or residential or other commercial businesses. So we're trying to just expand in order to provide that power.
so when you come to the, what day are you planning to, excuse me, come to the planning commission, would you be able to provide?
We will, yes, we will make them that.
But what, and then again, what timeframe would you come into before you go?
I don't know our planning commission. I'll check with that, Chuck Graham on that.
Okay.
Do you know, Jake, do you know who all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
For students, students on that base.
Jim's speaking. Yeah. Jim, go ahead.
Thank you. See where the red fire alarm thing is on the wall?
Can't show it on the screen. Oh, I can't go. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't go far enough.
This drawing, we're expanding. That's about where Parkstone
Okay.
backs up to the ramp. It's just a bit off the edge. If I'm understanding what you're saying, there's not going to be another transmission line.
The transmission line, if you can point on the screen, it's to the left of the green area, or go left, right there. That's the existing transmission line.
Yeah.
That's where the distribution will tie into. So there's not gonna
But
be,
there's not gonna be something to connect over to the data center?
anything coming out of the station will be underground.
Okay.
So
So they have to take the trees out to do that?
we are, the dark green area to the right, those are tree shade areas.
Yeah.
So we will not be touching those at all. I guess based on this route, I think there's a trail maybe or something, but what you see here is the vegetation that we are proposing for this substation.
I do know as, when I worked at the Conference Center Drive area, I would take lunch walks down Ole and follow this trail, which comes here and then goes to the right of the creek up to the Ole where it comes out on the top of, to Stonecroft. That's a good 45-minute walk. Are you going to impact that walking trail?
I don't believe so.
You're not gonna.
Okay.
It'll still be intact after all this is done.
Well, after you've done it, will be intact while you do it.
If there's any impact during construction, there'll be an alternative method so that the trail is connected, that people can walk it throughout the entire duration of
I
construction.
believe that trail's on the park authority property,
Yeah.
and we're not impacted.
Okay, good enough then? Jim?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The cost of this is paid for by NOVEC or Dominion or base?
I don't know the cost breakdown of exactly who's paying for what. Again, that would be, I just don't know the material percentages of all that.
Well, I think that's been a concern also, that infrastructure improvements are being driven by, as Jay says, the data center would be the one house on Pleasant Valley Road this year. I mean, we're not, there isn't a development expansion other than things like data center. And if the data center is what's driving it, residents' payments gonna go up because we're paying for things like this. And I think that's a legitimate question. I wondered myself if it's just the NOVEC customer or Dominion is paying for everybody. And well, that ties into another question. We got an email. I'm on NOVEC, some of us are on NOVEC, that we were gonna have to vote on Dominion giving us a buyout and Dominion absorbing NOVEC. Is that right?
I don't know the answer to that question. I actually haven't seen that.
I think it was.
There was. Yeah, no, it was a letter.
It was a letter, okay, well, maybe I forgot that, but the,
Or a notice in our payments.
someone was perfectly happy with NOVEC. You know, I don't know that. But the other question I was going to ask, I mentioned at the beginning, you looked at other sites and decided this was the place to put it, and I don't necessarily quarrel with that. It's probably better to co-locate than create another one. I live in Virginia Run, which is you go to the left and then turn down Pleasant Valley. Where some of these folks are sitting right in the back. We have a 2-acre lot on Pleasant Valley that NOVEC owns. Is that one of the other sites? And is that, it's too small for something like this, or is that being looked at for something else?
Generally, the substations that we're dealing with range from 6 to 8 acres, just in the gravel pad. So there's a lot of other development requirements that go into it, to where, I mean, we're looking probably at 10, 15, 20 acre parcels for just a new substation. And there's really not a lot of land that's got a transmission line that is almost set up to right here. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a planning standpoint to try to pursue something that's not in the location that we're trying to
Say, I don't quarrel with that either. What could a 2-acre NOVEC lot is not a substation.
It could become, if we want to do a small office building or something, I'm not, 2 acres is pretty small, so I don't, it definitely would not be a substation.
Okay. All right, watch that out.
I'm gonna quote you on that then.
For how long? Okay, John, you have some comments.
On a percentage basis, when this is built out, what percentage of the electrical power generated will go to data centers versus everything else?
I don't know that right now. I don't have the breakdown of the percentage and everything.
Well, you might want to get it, because I think the planning commission might ask you that question.
Understood.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
sure.
So is there a franchise between you and Dominion where you're on this section and they're on that section? In Conference Center Drive, that whole Westfields, are they NOVEC or are they Dominion?
I think I'd have to see a map of this exactly.
And because right back to here, let me take this off. When we look at the map, one of these illustrations that you had here, we had a parking lot, right? Is this the parking lot for this site? All right, so this is an office building in Conference Center Drive in Westfields. And so the question I have is the Westfield office group in your franchise?
It's a NOVEC.
It is a note. How much of Westfield is in NOVEC and how much is not?
I did the breakdown of that. Again, I could go back, try to find the NOVEC map.
Just asking to see that because as is pointed out earlier, there's going to be a lot more residential development in Westfield since there hasn't really been any more commercial development. In fact, some of the commercial facilities prior to the pandemic went bankrupt and were sold for pennies on the dollar. And in the last 5 years, since the plan amendment allowing housing to be built in the higher noise level contours of Dulles, many of the parcels have become residential, some of which we have objected to because they were going to be under the plains. But since the county in its ultimate wisdom has decided not to adopt the most recent 2019 contour line suggested by Dulles Airport and are still working to the 1990s contour line, as amazingly that is, they can build where the 2019 lines would say that you shouldn't. But, you know, they can ignore reality if they wish.
I'm curious, do we have any idea whether a residential use or a commercial use requires more power?
Here's our experts. What's your recommendation?
It will.
It will. Which is it? It. Give me the define of it.
How?
No.
Residential or the commercial?
Which of the two it's?
Which it's been on the side of the development. If we're doing like 100, 200, or 1,000 home commercial or residential development, it's quite a bit of power. So any increase in power puts an additional strain on our grid. And it gets to a point, kind of with this substation there, that we're almost at capacity or at capacity, and we're looking to expand in order to bring more power to.
I think of most commercial businesses that are, at least in the office park, there are a lot of computers.
Depending on the type of commercial and use, yes. More computer driven.
You know, it used to be, you'd think, oh, there are many more computers in an office building, but nowadays you go to a person's house and they got all these Alexas and smart things. All of them are in reality embed computers.
And electric cars.
Yeah, that's it too. Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions for our guests here tonight?
When is this going in front of are you going to the PC?
We don't have a date.
You don't have a date yet.
Okay, do you want to, your staff report hasn't been released yet?
No.
Would you have a feel for when the staff report will be released?
I do not. I think
That's contingent on the PC dates, which definitely happen.
Okay, all right, so normally, if you're just conjecturing, we would give you, like we said earlier, when we talked to two other groups, we said that, going back to the, here, we said that we gave people a tentative agreement with the provision of the staff report indicates there are no objections to the proposal. What says the body now? Do we want to give them the same?
Yes.
Okay, you have our tentative approval. Okay, any objection to that comment? None. Okay, so the Sully District Land Use and Transportation Committee votes not to object with the provision that if the staff report indicates there are objections to the proposals, they should plan to return and address those objections.
Thank you.
All right? So we expect you to keep us informed that your plan report is beautiful. If there are any blemishes, that sacred cow cannot be offered, and you need to come back so we can examine your replacement.
There is a carrot to that because sometimes the staff opposes, we support it, and they'll go with the citizens.
Okay, so that's our point. I have not yet invoked biblical guilt offerings at the temple, but I thought it was timely today. Okay? Okay, any other comments? All right, if not, you are free to go.
Thank you for
Okay,
coming.
and I will tell Paul that you recognize that name, okay? Okay, all right then. So in any case, our next item is a freestanding emergency room where Santani's on Route 50 used to be. Now, I have gone there with that very same brother-in-law and his wife. So they'll be disappointed that we can't go there anymore to get sandwiches. But in any case, I'm going to exit out of this and go to here. So we have Aaron Frank. He's an AICP senior land use with Cooley. The proposed special exemption to allow for a freestanding emergency department. It's on Corsair.
Yeah, it's on Corsair.
Corsair. All right, so I'm thinking of a sailing boat from the 1700s.
I'm thinking of a Navy aircraft.
Okay, yeah, but that's after the sailing ship of the 1700s that they named it after. I mean, that was one of those, the English, all right, in Chantilly, all right. So you're a land use planner who used to work on Lee District. Mason, okay, all right, good. So, and which Mason supervised?
Penny Gross.
All right, Penny Gross, Pamela Gross. All right, so you're constructing, all right, I'm gonna let you talk to this. We have a link to the plan and we have a link to the PDF. Do you want me to open the PDF?
Yeah, PDF's fine.
PDF's fine, okay? So I'm gonna open the PDF. And let me change the monitor so we get, oh, wrong way. We get Aaron on the screen. Okay, so I'm gonna go into presentation mode again, 1 second. Oh, one thing.
What's that?
What's that?
That's one of Jim Hart's pictures.
Yeah, we won't go here. Here we go, this one over here. So we go to this one and we go to, here we go. All right, go to presentation mode. There we go. All right, so freestanding emergency department, SU 014.
Yep. So thank you, and thanks to everybody I have my back to, and we'll try to balance this both ways, but you can please proceed to the next slide. I'll show you the location of the property that we're discussing this evening. And this is, 3980 Corsair, and it's just north of 50, adjacent to the old Bob Evans, the Longhorn Steakhouse, next to the 28. As you may be familiar with the location. So this is Santini's. For those of you who may love Santini's, they're still going to be open in Oakton and everywhere else, but they will be, relocating or removing the property as a result of this. The plan is to build a freestanding emergency department. Next slide, please. So the first question, one back, please. The emergency department is how do we get here? What is the need for this? So the emergency department itself, it's going to be about 11,000 square feet, 11 exam rooms, in a one-story building like Santini's. But in order to get to this point, the applicant, which is an entity associated with Stone Springs Hospital, has to understand that they need additional services to support both emergency services at their hospital, but also fill a gap where there aren't any hospitals or emergency rooms for a few miles. So this location just east of 28 is kind of right between Stone Springs to the west, Fair Oaks, a few miles to the east, Reston Hospital to the north. So they look at it, of course, understanding growth projections, existing emergency room wait times, and physical location and distance to existing emergency departments. As part of their understanding of that need, they both understand internally they need to build this, but also have a state and a local process that goes through. So unlike a lot of zoning applications that are special exceptions that just go through, your committee, planning and zoning, PC and board, we actually went to both the county's healthcare advisory board in December to look at kind of the operation for an emergency department from a medical perspective, but also the applicant went to the state board of health to get a certificate of public need, which was issued. They look at things like the need and demand for it, but also, how it's going to operate. So there's going to be, I don't know, between 7 to 10 employees for each shift. They're going to be nurses, doctors, administrative staff to help folks who have levels of injuries that need emergency attention. When a patient calls either for an ambulance or is transported by passenger vehicle, they can come here for a broken bone or similar emergent events. However, for a patient with a particularly traumatic injury, say cardiac or something requires surgical care, they would still go to the hospital where there's greater level of triage and greater level of services. And ambulance drivers understand that as part of their triage assessments. So, this will take a load off of some of those existing hospitals by letting some of those less urgent needs go to the emergency department here instead of creating missional demand at the existing hospitals. Next slide, please. So, when this again, we can go to the next slide as well. So as far as why we're here this evening from a zoning perspective, the property is zoned C8. Within the commercial zones, as you're probably familiar, that is the highest and allows for the greatest range of different non-residential uses. However, a freestanding emergency department is considered a medical care facility within the zoning ordinance. That is a special exception use in every zoning district. So whether this was zoned C8 or whether it was zoned A1, this would be a special exception use. So we look at the comprehensive plan, being this is a special exception use. It is within Zealous Suburban Center. That is a baseline recommendation for campus-style office and industrial flex up to a 0.35 FAR. So comprehensive plans, in the absence of site-specific plan text, aren't going to be descriptive so much from what recommends a very specific use, like a freestanding emergency department. So while in some ways it is non-residential in the sense that office, or other uses could be, it also is considered under the optional development criteria. And that is criteria for uses that aren't specifically identified, but to be appropriate, they need to meet certain criteria, namely that they generate fewer peak hour transportation trips. In this case, freestanding emergency department does just that. It is lower trip generations than would otherwise be produced by another use that is permitted and encouraged by the comprehensive plan. And it's certainly considerably less than the number of trips generated by Santini's under current use.
Or, yes, even when they were doing excellent.
Even when they were doing this. Next slide, please. So here's a look at the site plan. The access will remain to the north off of Corsair. There is going to be a circular access around the building itself, allowing for conflict-free access for patients who would be able to access the front door if they're arriving by passenger vehicle, or patients who are arriving by ambulance to go to the back door, where there is a porte cochere canopy allowing for easy access. The building itself is going to be slightly smaller than Santini's. If you've been inside Santini's, it has a pretty expansive dining room. And it is going to have a smaller parking lot than what currently exists. The property is basically a sea of asphalt under current conditions. We're going to be trimming that pretty considerably here, both the number of spaces, but also number of drive aisles. So the development footprint is going to shrink, and that's going to allow more room for landscaping around the perimeter of the property. With that reduction in impervious surface, as well as new stormwater management that's being provided, it's going to be net positive in the stormwater management that currently runs on the site. So as far as our process has been through the zoning application, we have been reviewed by staff at this point. We went to the Healthcare Advisory Board in December. They recommended approval. Staff recommendation is forthcoming. We have a planning commission date on March 25th. So we expect that we should get that staff recommendation in a few weeks now. At this point, you know, that there has been no reason to think that they would not recommend approval. And I recognize that I don't have that approval in hand, so I certainly cannot guarantee it. But, you know, we are on pace for that planning commission hearing on March 25th, or date is to be determined. So with that being said,
I'll open up to the floor for questions, please.
Are you going to work hand in glove, or are you in competition with Patient First around the corner?
So that would be a separate, they're owned by a separate entity.
Are you competing against them?
I guess you could say it's competition. I mean, it's a separate company, but it's a different type of service though.
That's my question.
Yeah, so that's more of an urgent care. Whereas we, with an emergency department, would be around the clock. We have greater staffing levels and be able to treat a greater number of.
So you're basically an ER like at Fair Oaks, only a lesser medical problem.
That's right. Later capabilities, start to see more of these in the marketplace, and entities, I don't recall if I mentioned this, but Fairfax Fire and Rescue really supports this because it reduces travel time. So whether, and we had this conversation before the Healthcare Advisory Board, and sure, you know, there are different providers that are technically competition, but ultimately when EMS come to help somebody, they're trying to get them to the quickest service possible. So whether, it doesn't matter whose name is on the logo.
This geographically got a sweet spot.
That's right. So just akin, if you have seen in Tyson's on Route 7, right after 3, there's a freestanding specialty department there. This would be very similar to that. So
Is this under ICA also?
that's under HCA. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you think they picked this because of the proximity to 28 and 50?
That's a big bracket.
Okay.
Easy, convenient for ambulance as well as passenger vehicles.
And the airport.
Yep, but also that's kind of the traffic sweet spot.
Okay.
Airport. Any other comments? Please, questions?
I guess I'm just curious, how frequently that you might go to that facility and then find out eBay and you're
I don't know about probability, but certainly it is designed and operated with that in mind. So when a patient enters the freestanding emergency department, there is kind of an initial intake and triage, and they either would assess, yes, we can take care of you here, or no, no, A, you should drive yourself to Stone Springs, Fair Oaks, Reston, or B, we're calling an ambulance to transport you to Stone Springs, Reston, Fair Oaks.
Would it be a helicopter port? A helicopter?
There would be no.
All right, Evelyn, go ahead.
And I guess we can have your staff report, you're gonna go into detail about the schooling one. Facility very close. Then you have the housing. in the Jones.
All right, I have some questions. About 8 years ago, my wife had a pulmonary embolism at a restaurant in Centerville. And her friend said, she, and they took her to urgent care. There was an urgent care need. And then people said, oh, no, we can't handle that. You got to bring her to a hospital. Now, on top of that, my daughter and son-in-law are emergency doctors. And they, on occasion, worked in a freestanding emergency facility as well as the hospital. But the most secret information that you know is most emergency doctors working in hospitals don't work for the hospital. They are in a consultancy that the hospital hires to handle the emergency room. And so they are not doctors of the hospital. They are doctors of that firm working at that hospital. So the question I have for you is, who is going to staff you? Are you going to be working for a consultancy, the emergency doctors of Northern Virginia, or are you going to be working, or the people going to be working for Stonecroft Hospital?
I'm not sure. I do know that there will be standardized qualifications.
Well, the qualifications are immaculate no matter what. As my son-in-law and my daughter say, you know, it makes no difference to you as the person receiving the care, whether I'm a hospital employee or the consultancy working in the hospital. But the question I have for you is, that consultancy runs and has built multiple freestanding emergency rooms, taking away some of the preliminary or less intense care. So the question I have for you is, who's your mama?
So I do not know HCA's specific hiring practices and how they work that, so I'm not going to speak to it.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gotta see what you're saying, yeah.
Because if it's the emergency crew who's doing this, that's different than the hospital, okay? But you're going to be affiliated with that hospital, the Stonecroft.
Yes, Stone Spring. that's
Stone
right.
Spring.
Yeah.
Now, the hospital we're resting is part of the Hospital Corporation of America.
Yes.
Fair Oaks is part of Inova. Which is that one that you're going to be affiliated with?
So this one is associated with Stone Springs, which is also under that HCA.
Okay,
hospital
all right,
program.
all right. I just wanted to see
Yeah.
which side the bread is buttered on. Okay? So the next question is, so if my wife had a pulmonary embolism and her friend brought her to an emergency place, would you say, keep on going, or would you try to help her here?
I think that the level of potential care would be greater than an urgent care. When they get to there, I think it would depend on severity and what those doctors say. Whereas they would, again, either say, we can do this, you should have somebody drive you, or we're calling 911 to get that ambulance here right now.
My wife went by ambulance from the urgent care.
Yeah.
They looked at her and said, get thee there.
Yeah.
And lady, you're not qualified to drive her the rest of the way. We're getting in an ambulance.
And in most cases, if the injury or the medical event is that severe, typically the ambulance drivers know.
But we're talking about the friend or neighbor
The
who's,
friend or neighbor, they would talk to the front desk and the front desk would be able to make that decision pretty quickly.
and the last item I would point out in that is that when my daughter found out the situation, she left her session at the hospital mid-session. Most doctors do not leave their 8-hour shift early, but she knew that the situation for my wife was so urgent, so emergency, that she had to leave her shift and fly down here. And then when my son and everybody else found out that our sister had left her shift, we said, oh, shit, because this is really and bad, rather than, oh, she's going to take the next plane out. No, she's taking the next plane here. Okay, so we found that out, that urgent care. And I say that because my son-in-law keeps on telling us about Coon Rapids, Minnesota, which has an urgent care, not necessarily a hospital. Okay? And you can see how big a town that is. It's got Coon Rapids is the name of the
Do
town.
they have a Somali Learning Center on site?
I'm sure they do, because I guarantee you there are excellent Somali doctors who service the metropolitan Twin Cities area. go ahead.
Have you all looked at the traffic coming in and out of that area? I mean, that's, if you go back to the map again.
Oh, hold on.
That's the third building back tucked away in that corner. I'm a little concerned of trying to get in and out of there with an ambulance vehicle, knowing, okay, full well that when those lights are flashing, you better get out of the way. These idiots around here don't know how to do that.
But they do have a fire department right down the road, on that same road, which they have to deal with that intersection all the time.
So have they done anything about a traffic study to see what that road can handle? Can it handle this amount of traffic?
Well, I guess did your application require that?
So, good related questions. The application did not require a traffic study, and Fairfax Department of Transportation staff have not raised concerns related to that. All in all, the way I look at it also is that Thunderbolt is a little bit sleepy right now. But getting to Thunderbolt, no matter which direction you're coming from, that already occurs under existing conditions for a lot more people who have gone to Santini's in the past and so forth. So it has been approved to operate under higher conditions than it would be with the freestanding emergency department. Nevertheless, the operational folks are certainly aware of that, making sure it makes sense, from
I was thinking, I guess I was thinking of Centerville Road, which is right next door, and that intersection might.
Yeah.
Nothing. Now, of course, if you're coming from 28 going north, you cannot make that first left.
Correct.
Left. Not right. Okay. Anyway, okay. Correct. All right. So you could probably make the right turn, make a U-turn and come up that way, as the case may be. But though if I was an emergency vehicle, I might hop the curb if I had an emergency.
My educated guess is that I think,
Yeah.
Yeah, they know that. All right then. So
One last question.
go ahead and then we'll go to Jim.
Are there any ambulances stationed in that facility?
None will be stationed.
Jim?
Yeah, I was on 28, actually, I was on 50 this afternoon with an ambulance trying to go east. And, this stop and go traffic, so there wasn't really a clear place to do it. They ended up using the turn lanes, the right shoulder sort of to get through. If an ambulance is coming from like, and they turn left on whatever that street is, Corsair, not Corsair, that's the name of it. Well, it's not Thunderbolt thing. The stoplight that's not Centerville Road.
If you were the ambulance, you could make a left-hand turn from the main road where you're not allowed to from anybody else. They could probably do it without, the police would say, go do it.
If you can, they should, so an ambulance. If you go back to the slide that had the parking sign. Yeah, I can't read that totally, but, I had a suggestion or a request to do something that whatever the county formula is for handicap parking spaces for medical office, it's not even close. And every doctor's office or facility that has handicap spaces doesn't have enough. I guess, are there like 2 or 4? I expect that they're gonna need more than whatever the formula says. So even if they're getting rid of all the parking, and the formula says, you need 2 or 4, I just encourage you to go up. But I had the same experience as Jeff and his wife. I went to and I got in there and we were like, "Ooh, gotta go to the emergency room." And I would never have jumped in the car, go that far if I thought I was driving to Fair Oaks. And I don't like Fair Oaks thing. But I guess there's a in between, and actually, but the urgent care won't take certain things if they think you're too serious. And I agree about it's kind of hard. One more question. Gallon again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gallon was here, 130. And, case we never been Supreme Court in 30 years. 7. Familiar. That's good. I think you may have represented Abe Bob. He had, he was a character, and essentially you mentioned Michael, because there was a bank that went bankrupt in the early 90s. It was Continental Bank. It was on 29 in Centerville. And then it was a couple other uses, but Abe bought it. It was a drive-through bank, but it became first a little coffee shop for a couple of weeks, and then it was an X-rated video. And he wanted it to be a used car lot.
I remember that.
I remember,
Yeah.
Ron and I went over and looked at it.
It wasn't a good place.
No, it wasn't. And that's correct. But anyway, he passed away. But no, it wasn't a used car lot. And then now it's kind of where the Walgreens is. All those things got torn down, but the 28, 29 interchange messed up the parking and access for all of the businesses right around. Anyway, I think your dad was representing Mr. Bob.
So I bought 2 shares of Continental Federal Savings Loan when it became a company. Well, who cares? But the point being is, they had their stockholders meeting off of Centerville Road, about where one of those big office blocks was. And I had always wanted to vote in a stockholders meeting. So I went there with my 2 shares, and the transactions were so major that everything was done by proxy. So I went up to this and said, how come you didn't call for a stockholders vote? Because everything was, I said, no, I have 2 shares and I was here because I wanted to vote. My only stockholders meeting that because you always see what's happening in New York and other places. I wanted to be a citizen activist. And they never called it. They were worthless. What? No, my mother always taught me abstain because you know nothing of what's going on. But the point being is, it was my intent to actually, and I vote my 2 shares. Never had a chance. But when you mentioned Continental, I had 2 shares of Continental.
Well, there was a whole raft of savings and loans that they all sort of went under. I remember I was at lunch and I came back home. I heard said, did you see the run at the bank? And I was like, no, I never seen the run at the bank. And that was what we checked it out. And so I got in the box for the drive through within half an hour. Said maximum withdrawal $300. So the bank collapsed, and a whole bunch of banks did in Virginia and Maryland on the same day. And then, like 2 days later, what was it called? The federal agency took over.
FDIC.
No, but wasn't that it was a one for savings alone rather than federal bank.
Took over the banks. And
Do you remember Maryland had its own savings and loan bank, and so people didn't get a federally charged, they got a Maryland one, and they had so loosey-goosey, they were paying better interest than anybody else, and they went bankrupt because Maryland couldn't cover the costs of the losses. But in any case, we diverge. All right, are we willing to give them the same gratis that we gave to the previous folks? NOVEC. Okay, so.
Comment if I could.
Okay, go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, I did have a couple earlier questions, which were resolved satisfactorily. What I would suggest is that the applicant contact the Northern Virginia office of Virginia DOT and request from them a copy of a traffic operations and safety study which they completed year and a half, 2 years ago, along this section of US Route 50. VDOT has recognized for a number of years the safety and operational issues along this stretch of Route 50 with all the adjacent commercial development. And so they put together a program of improvements that would enhance both safety and operations. I think what they suggest is something you should be aware of. Thank you.
Was it, Lewis, wasn't that the STARS program?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
We're happy to reach out.
Okay, then, with that in mind, we have no objection to this going forward. We want frequent flyer discounts, so every time we have an emergency, we can get a stamp. If you find that the staff report has any problems or objections, we'll ask that you come back and address those to us so that we can give you a blanket exemption. But right now, we have no objection as long as the staff has no objection. And we thank you for coming.
Yeah.
And I hope that we haven't put you too much in a grill today. Some of us are knowledgeable by using emergency rooms, and I know the inner workings of these emergency rooms. Okay, so with that in mind, any other comments or questions? Okay, we're gonna let you go. We thank you for coming. And what's your relationship? Okay, so you don't know any more about the doctor's staff behind this? Okay, but which one? Yeah, I mean, I found that out from my son-in-law that he's a principal of this consultancy. He worked his way up from the attending doctor and then bought shares, and now they're invested in. So that means they can't leave where they work because they're shareholders of the company.
Is there gonna be signage on Route 50 for this? On 28?
There will be not along 28 because we're too far from it, but along 50, property does have some frontage close to 50. There's an existing Santini sign that's there. I don't know the exact location of the signage. They haven't gotten that far into detail, but there will be some signage that I think you'd find customary.
And this is just a kind of casual comment.
Yeah.
I don't know that generally a homeowner is gonna recognize that thing is there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's gonna be obscurity for years before anybody realizes there's an emergency center.
Takes some time to get into the pattern.
I mean, that was some advertisement in some way to publicize the fact that there is one there.
Yeah.
So that someone doesn't say, oh crap, now I have to drive all the way down to Fair Oaks or up to Weston's, when they could have driven 2 miles, down Centerville and found this one.
You're totally right.
I think somebody's comment was about the patients first. If you need a shot or have the flu, you should not go to an emergency room. Your fees will be so astronomically higher because it's an emergency room and these are doctors and such, rather than going to patients first, which handles an urgent but non-emergency usage. And the problem that most people have is urgent emergency, In many cases, it's an emergency to me, but it's really only urgent care. And people aren't necessarily aware of the two differentiations. Okay, with that in mind, thank you both for coming. We appreciate that. The next item is I'm going to turn it over to Stephen. And Steve, I have this package here where Jim and Steve talked about the sale. And is this part and parcel of the police property or is it adjoining the police property? So they're going to sell off the racetrack?
Well, if it, sort of L-shaped, it's like the left.
I will tell you that where I live in Chantilly Highlands, we can hear them shooting at that facility. In early mornings when it's quiet, you look around and you go, somebody's shooting at somebody. And then we say, oh, it's the fire department, it's police department practicing, but we can hear that. Lewis, what about you? No, you were too far east. And so you would not hear them as well as I would on the west side of my subdivision.
That is correct. We don't hear anything.
Okay, good enough. All right, so in any case, so as we report here, Jim reported that the Fairfax County may be selling 41 acres of county-owned land for the data center. So our understanding is they came to the county and said, hey, or did the county say, hey, we want to get rid of it? Who was the initiator of this process?
The article suggests that our would, I don't know if anybody else did on it or.
Okay, so,
We don't know.
all right, so it looks like it's zone I-5. You can see here, private sales don't require a public hearing. Sale of county land does. And so here's some comments. Steve said that Tyler Ray, president of the Brand Point Homeowners Association, sent an email seeking support for other local associations. And his point is that they want this to be land sale to initiate a land swap for the Plaza 500 property on Edsel Road, all the way on the other side of the county. And they want to create half affordable housing on that. They've asked us and others to endorse this and come up with a position. So Steve, and now on top of that, Jim also has some other points here, and I have them listed on the page here. You can read these. So I'll turn it to Steve, and then I'll turn it to Jim, and then we'll open it up.
Really, I really don't have any additional to say other than I think, Tyler elaborated it all in his email, and that he was hoping to gain support for a transfer. One would think that the county would certainly recognizes the issues with affordable housing. It certainly would help, could help with that regard. I guess the question is, what is the relative values of those two properties?
So, let me get this straight. You want to put affordable housing in a lake?
No, this
It's a racetrack.
no, this is to,
His suggestion is get rid of the data center approved next to that, which is the Starwood data center.
done with Alexandria.
Move that to this site, and then instead of a data center next to them, put affordable housing, but we still get the data center.
Next year.
So instead of having two data centers, one here and one of Edsel Road, move the Edsel one to this one, don't build a separate one, just have this one and use the other property for.
This one, I think. Yeah, basically, they don't want the data center to. They've been fighting the tooth and nail. He's saying, well, it's a win-win, make that affordable housing and stick the data center out, so.
I would.
And he's got a, what you call it, so, what's it called? Petition with,
Change.org or something?
change.org, yeah, for that.
David, since I was 65, data center. I guess the board.
I don't think we want a data center at all, fouling the air with, how many hundred.
Yeah, but I guess my point is I would much rather have that one that they're putting next to the.
Cardiac. Well, that's already a foregone conclusion.
It's a done deal, but I think it just makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, that's not, it's not gonna affect my thought is that there's nothing really getting killed on everything. The problem I had, I thought Tyler's proposal was kind of sarcastic. I didn't realize he was really serious. I don't think we're ready to take a position in anything, but I think there are a million questions about the deal. And there isn't much time, but I thought the questions could be asked. I thought also there's not been a whole lot of media coverage, but if there were. If people knew this was happening, they might have questions of their own before we took.
So the data center, this is why would most residents?
It's like because it's terrible deal. Because the county, there's no more land being made. Giving up 41 acres that the county already owns, I think assumes that we're not gonna need any land for anything. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think that all of the public facilities that were identified in the comp plan as future things that we would need, or things that the park authority would need, or things that are in CIP that are sort of semi-funded, that maybe there's not a site for it. We don't know the answer to that. And I think that question should be asked. Are we going to need any more land for anything? Is it okay if we give up the 41 acres? Because if they give up 41 acres here, where are they going to get 41 acres? Something else. And there may be all kinds of uses that we still need, that's an appropriate future site for. I don't think we know exactly how the price was determined. It's a pretty high price, but I-5 and I-6 in Fairfax County would go through the roof. Once Loudon made data centers a special exception use, and then by right in Fairfax County, anybody putting in a data center is going to be drawn to Fairfax because, you know, we've got the king and queen of data centers in charge and they're going to approve anything. And now nothing needs to be. Loudon is basically saying no. Fairfax is saying, hold on. By right. And so the price would go way up. And I don't know if, you know, it's about $4 billion an acre or something like that. I don't know if that's the going rate or not, or if they allow competitive bidding when they get more money for that. It's a little less than what would pay for the American Garden Center. Whatever the price grade was there, a little less than that. But again, I think we don't know if they had allowed competitive bidding or if somebody else came along with the more money available for that. I think I don't think the county has studied at all. They're scared to death of it. What are the long-term costs to us in terms of public health and the environment for approving another gigantic data center?
Loudon County's got data centers.
Yeah, and
I mean, we got studies saying the air quality in the county is terrible. 30, 40 legislatures.
Is that the charge of that?
Yeah, that's necessary. All we know is that DEQ was, and then they changed the definition of it. DEQ advertised variances twice because we were maxed out particulates. We're also maxed out on the electrical system. So that when they have to run the diesel generator, we're going to be on. So they wanted to do a variance for an exemption, say data centers are exempt because we have too much air pollution already. Both times the variances were withdrawn. This year, they said, okay, well, we're going to redefine emergency to mean it's not an emergency if they give 2 weeks notice in advance for running the generators. And there was a big uproar again that they approved it. So basically, as long as the data center says 2 weeks in advance, we're going to run the generators, they're okay. And it's classified as an emergency, even though I would think knowing 2 weeks in advance, it's not an emergency, it's planning.
But yeah, I'm understanding.
Whatever it is, it's putting us over in terms of particulate levels.
Let me play that. It's right next to the airport. Got planes taken along. How does it, how much pollution have particulates does the data center? We're not comparing
If, as long as we're over, it's making it worse. I don't know what NWA would say about it. I don't know if it can be 75 feet high, that close to the airport, or if they would say, you know, the flight's on top and it's okay or whatever. But I don't know if they're involved, they have comments. Anyway, my point was, there's a lot of questions that I would have, and other folks I think would have better questions. Sent an email about that because I thought maybe it would be appropriate to ask questions, see what the staff says, or see what Jeff and Kathy said about these things that nobody seems to know. And I think also if we wait a little bit, and if there's, Bonnie has a story or something, that there may be citizens who would be in an uproar, say, how can the county get rid of land? It's so hard to acquire it. Shouldn't we be keeping this because we're gonna need it? And, we need a fire station, or we need an indoor recreational facility, whatever the hell it is. I don't think we have all the land now that we're gonna need for whatever. But I don't know if staff has done that analysis also. Go through the comp plans that we need a senior center, we need a library, we need whatever it is. And how much acreage do we need for that in this part of the county? They're never gonna get 41 acres. They're never gonna get.
Even west of us.
Well, they're acquiring land for the high school, that's a whole nother
Me too.
can of worms, but
I think we should.
I would be more comfortable. I mean, it's a better site than some others, if we have to have it at all. But there's a lot of places that are saying no more.
So I'm going to turn it over to Jeanne. You've got your hand up, so please turn your computer screen on.
Oh, hi. I've had a little bit problem hearing the discussion in the room, so I hope I'm not going to be too redundant. I have, like Jim mentioned, a lot of problems with this site being ostensibly sold to Starwood. I'm sorry that Carol's not with us because she sat with me on the Dulles South Suburban Study Committee. And this site as very valuable to police and fire department operations. It's all the reverb is really distracting. I apologize. I also have a lot of consternation about the it seems low. I don't know who established this, but certainly that is something that needs an awful lot of attention. And I definitely agree that I would want to see a very in-depth study about what county needs for land are outstanding and where we're going to put things. So I think with all the reverb, I'll stop talking.
But all right, Jan, thank you for addressing the same issues that Jim has raised. This is valuable land. Do we have enough? As the saying goes, they're not making more land.
Right.
I want to also show you, I go to the Allergy Partners of Northern Virginia, which is off the Avian, north of Route 50. And that whole complex of 3 offices is closing shortly. And the office is going to be relocated. And they don't know why it's closing, but it seems to me, I'll bet dollars for donuts that that's going to be a data center.
Everything I-5 and I-6, unless you're an idiot. It's by right.
Now, the other point was I went to a breakfast this morning with one supervisor from Loudon and Jimmy Bierman and Walter Alcorn from Fairfax, Hunter Mill, and Drainsville. Julie from Algonquin said that the Loudon Board of Supervisors were able basically to drop the penny rate 20 cents on their tax bill. they have no problems funding whatever they want to fund because they're getting so much money from data centers.
Have so many of them.
Well, that's the point that she was making, is that they are in the funds. But
I'm not willing to make that sound.
that's the point that was made, is that they've now put a special permit process for data centers, while Fairfax has chosen not to do that. So, we're, discount shopping, as the saying goes. Okay? All right, so Louis, you had your hand up, and then I'll go back to Jan.
Yeah, just briefly, given what was just discussed about the significant revenues which Loudoun County is observing, have we ever seen a detailed description of the revenues being generated in Fairfax County by the existing data center and the proposed data center?
I'm going to
And relative to the second question, where do you get all the electrical power from for the proposed additional data center? Example being the site you just described, Jeff, of a series of buildings that are going to be abandoned, which will then be, I'm sure, torn down, and we'll see a data center application for them.
Okay, Jan, I don't think we have an answer to that question. Remember, we heard a public hearing on a data center that was north of, let me find this one. It was in the area north, not too far from Redskin Park. It was along this road here, Frying Pan, Sunrise Valley Extended, in this section of Fairfax County. They were building a data. We saw the power substation and not the data centers that they were supplying. Right, that's it. We told them, whatever you do, change the name of your street as well.
To Lou's point, the public hearing question is only, should we sell the 41 acres for the $161 million? And there's no explanation of projection regarding one nickel of future revenue to the county. And I don't know if we're supposed to talk about it even, but in a scenario under which Starwood is the ostensible purchaser, but the function of the giant building is for an unnamed federal agency, are they going to be paying anything to the county anyway?
Well, if it's not owned by the unknown federal agency and they're just using it, then the company, which is a private entity, pays the money.
It's all speculation.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on. We don't know what the deal is. It seems to be choreographed in advance rather than the board saying,
Frequently, it's Amazon that provides.
we own hundreds of acres of worthless or useless property. Let's sell it, generate money to do that. Maybe that's a legitimate thing for the county to do, but the parcels that are being unloaded, and in any event, I don't think we could be here all night. My point was, I thought Tyler's request was sarcastic. I didn't think he was serious about it.
No.
And he is. And I thought, before we took a position
Welcome to Fairfax.
in a public hearing,
You can't tell that sarcastic for real.
we still have one more month. Maybe if citizens found out about it, there would be other.
So-
Questions. We should ask the questions and wait before
We don't have a topic for next month's land use and transportation. Should we reach out to the county and say, hey, we'd like somebody to come out here and talk to us about this so we can make up our mind?
That's a good idea.
Okay, Evelyn, can you help us on that? Give us a recommendation of who to ask? And we don't want a voodoo, but we do want a hoodoo.
And she should be able to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we have concerns and you can show us the agenda that we've raised on that. And we'd be happy to put on our agenda that type of information. All right,
But you still have.
She may know.
okay, yeah. All right, so let me go over here and say what we have planned. So as I said, this month, we think we have the fire and rescue. That's still to be determined. Next month, we have Dulles Airport update. It's Michael Cooper, who has spoken to us multiple times in the past, thinks of us as a friend, said he can't make it on Wednesday, the 25th, because he's got to take a family member to a play, but he'd be happy to come here on the 24th. And so we have the 24th, and we have, courtesy of Lewis, it's going to be held at the Franklin Farm Community Center. The address will be on here, so it'll be there. Okay? We have the Centerville Area Task Force, courtesy of Jay. Thank you for getting that. We've reached out to the General Assembly members for our May meeting, and I'm working with Bill Kehoe. And anyway, who's the Westfield Business Owners Association. Bill Keach. Now, Bill has been before us multiple times before, and so I'm planning to have him come back in June if we can. But June is far enough away that we can find something else as well. We had 3 or 4 items that we talked about, such as affordable housing or homeless. So there are other items that we can fill in, but this is what we're planning to do so far for the first 6 months of the year. We also have, all right, so here you can see the Sully District Council meeting we held on Tuesday, 24 March at Franklin Farms. And thank you again, Lewis, for arranging this, presented by Mike Cooper, MWA. And right now, at this time, we had no item for consideration. Now we do. And so let me again point out to everybody, we really need your HOA to send in its dues. It's only $10. I mean, some of us have, and many of us haven't. So the dues are from 2026 to 2026, 1 January to 31 December. This is for the question of the airport. It's not, all right, our meeting is going to be on the 16th of March. Okay? All right, so that's time enough to do that as soon as we have it. But my point being is, if your HOA hasn't sent in $10 or 50 if you want to join the federation, please do so. Click on the thing, fill it in, send it in. We don't barely cover our expenses. We haven't done it for years, and we've been living on the good graces of the Western Fairfax County Citizens Association. Understand, we need members to help us run our organization. Don't you forget that. I'm saying that because our post office box and our
Website.
the websites, it's the WebEx fee. And I've checked the WebEx fee, the Zoom fee, the Teams fee. Somehow these oligarchs all within pennies of each other. You ever notice that? Oh, I can save 10 cents going here. All right, in any case, I'm really telling you guys, see if you can get your community joined. Because if somebody asks us how many people we actually represent, we don't represent much.
Maybe we need to do
Put two.
Yeah, you can have 50 some.
All right, so I've taken a chance, a real chance. I was at Facebook and somebody was advertising rolls of stamps, $100, 100 stamps for $20. And they normally go for 75 because, the current stamp's 78, so 100 stamps is 78. So I bought, and if you got 50 of them, you were spending less than $50. So I'm really expecting to go back to my credit card company and say, this was a stupid, you got to return it to me because these people were bad. But I have bought stamps. but I have bought those stamps earlier and gotten them at a really reduced price. So I'm hoping that I'm spending $50 and I get 50 rolls of stamps. That means each stamp is worth 78 cents. No, 0.78 cents. Not each 78 stamp will be worth 0.78 pennies. So I'm hoping that's worthwhile. Well, if that happens, we'll send out mailings galore. That's what I need you to be. We need you to join the Sully District Council because really, we got much. Lewis has got it from the Franklin Farm. And Lewis, can you check to see if you're accurately this year's member? I know you were last year, okay? And Jihan, you have your hand
Yes, I
up
will
again.
check. I will check.
You know, WFCC.
Wait, Jihan?
Hi, I don't know if we can add on to the county's discussion of this land, proposed land sale. But can we get somebody from DEQ air monitoring? Where exactly are the air monitoring stations in Fairfax County? How many do we have? I think that we need to have a better understanding of exactly where the stations are.
Best in the East.
2 years ago, year and a half ago, when I was working with Ann Bennett, helping her do some research, the air quality monitoring folks told me that there was only one station, and it was at the boundary of Loudon and Fairfax.
Okay, Jan, I'm giving you the delegation to get somebody to come to our meeting on 16 March,
16 March?
a month from today, 4 weeks from
Okay.
today.
Okay,
If you can get a name and a number and a person, we're gonna give our full attention to that person.
okay.
We're not
I
gonna
will
be
try.
like the guy in the social network who says, I'm giving you the full amount that you're worth. Remember that movie where he said that? All right, so we will give the full due worth to that person. Please take our delegation to you to make that happen.
Okay, I will try.
Thank you so much. Remember what the old saying is, you want it to happen, you volunteered. Okay, any other comments and questions?
I have a motion.
Please,
I move we adjourn.
okay? Thank you all for coming tonight. I think it was productive. I think we learned something. And I think those other two people were happy.
Sanitized district is not going away.
It's coming back again.
I was at the meeting.
Go
I had
ahead.
the survey. I sent survey in for myself.
Okay.
They also had a meeting of all HOA. There was only 189, 194 all told. There's over 2,000 homeowners associations and civic associations. There were 30 people who spoke up, including myself. There were 2 people who were against it. I'm sorry, for it. And 28 against it. One of the 2 for it said, I just don't want to deal with it anymore because I'm a self-managed community. But there were 28 communities that said they don't want it. And they were not answering questions. They were just allowing us to ask questions. They wanted to know what was the impact of your HOA. So I made the points that, like, full list of questions that I had for them. About the kind of service that we're going to get, whether we get twice a month pickup, unlimited yard debris.
Twice a week.
We're able to call our own companies and ask them the questions. The biggest question that came up was, this is going to impact us, is if you have it in your current HOA bylaws or your declaration, you're going to have to get those changed, and who's going to cover the cost of doing it? The county's not going to cover it. And the cost ranges anywhere between $18 per household to about $35 a household.
Come on.
a month. That's a pretty wide range,
Yeah.
and yet we still can't get the county executive, give us a number. The estimates right now are somewhere between $50 and $60 a month.
And I remember last month when Kathy Smith was here, I told her I spent $50 a
Yeah.
year.
Well, you won't have that choice.
That's my point. I said,
You're not gonna have that. choice.
I'm,
According to that.
I said, I'm a retired guy on a limited budget, and my wife can get her hair cut because I haul my trash. If she has to grow her hair long, if I have to pay for your trash. Okay, never mind. But if you could write up a paragraph, I'll put it in the notes.
No problem.
Okay, yeah, there's it.
You got it written.
That's what I'm saying. I thought so. You were looking at a piece of paper.
I'm looking at my president's report.
That's what I'm saying.
I will
Give it
send
to
it
us, and we'll put it in here, and it'll be in part of this is what we talked about, okay?
I have a question. Anybody gonna second my motion to adjourn?
I do.
All right, he did, only after he spoke. Okay, everybody. Oh, wait, Jan, you still got your hand up.
So sorry.
Okay, she took her hand out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please come next Wednesday. If you can, we still, because the fire and emergency services was an issue that people asked to hear.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to work with them, okay? Thanks so much, guys and gals.
Guys didn't hear the house that blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a quarter mile from my house.
What caused it? A gas leak?
Yes.
The corner of and Pleasant Valley. It's got tarps all over, it looks like it. In fire. Fires.
Yeah.
Again,
We were talking about it. I don't write an article.
back of the house and didn't pay attention to it, lit the whole frickin' house up. And he's a hoarder historically.
What happened to Michael was it just his?
What happened, this is Megan Kiefer called me.
Okay.
Ron Cook called me.